AppleScript is an absolutely terrible programming language, but the capabilities of what you can do with it, specifically with the accessibility framework, opens the door to a lot of really cool things that you can automate on macOS. So if you're not well aware of AppleScript and what it can do, I would definitely recommend watching this video. This is just a taste of what's possible, and it's incredibly powerful. All right, so the goal here today, if I run this script on the left, this will open up the ChatGPT app. My goal today is to show you how you can write a script that'll actually set the text inside of the message box. All right, so over on the left, I executed a script. Calling activate opens up the ChatGPT app or brings it to the foreground. And then down below, I find the process for the app. I grab its first window, and then I use UI elements to dump out the topmost elements on the screen. Now, of course, I could read through this list here. I get back a list of results. For example, here's the first item, and then there's a button here, and then there's another button here, etc. This is not exactly a friendly way to work with the structure of the application. So if instead of doing that, if I copy this, this is Script Editor, by the way. It's bundled with macOS. It's also terrible. If I close that, though, and then open up a program called Script Debugger, which is a paid product, definitely recommend getting a copy of this. If I paste that in here, and then right where it says UI elements, I'm actually going to capture that into a variable, call it foo. So now when I run this, you can see on the right panel here, here's the foo variable. I can expand it out. In this case, here's the list of elements that we just saw previously. But the cool thing is this is actually interactive. So I could drill into one of these items. For example, if I'm wondering what exactly button 3 is, scroll down here. This will grab properties for the button. And for example, you can see this is to minimize, which means if I scroll up here, click on the reference and drag this over here, I could do this where I could click item 5 of foo, run that, and you can see it minimizes the window. All right, so open up ChatGPT again so we can go through the elements here. All right, and then in addition to these top level items here, there's a group here that I can expand. And then underneath of this group, I've got other UI elements. I can expand that out. There's a button, and then there's a splitter group. And so I can keep going down the hierarchy to find whatever I'm interested in. Now, another tool I recommend, though, instead of just digging through this list, which is perfectly fine, however, another tool makes this a bit easier, and that is to use an inspector, the accessibility inspector or UI element inspector. Both work fine. When I open this up, I have a little locate icon here I can click on. I can come over to ChatGPT app. I can point right at the message box. And then over in the hierarchy here, I can see the hierarchy of controls that I need to navigate down to get to this item. So for example, I'll bring this to the upper right corner here. All right, so we have the application and then a window. So that would be this window right here. And then we need to navigate into a group, into the split group, and then another group. So actually, let's start out with the group here. So come back up here to item 1, which is group 1. And if I collapse this, you can see there are no other groups. So I know I need to go into this group then, which is this group right here. And then inside of the group, I need to go into a split group. So I'll come over to splitter groups here. This is a collection here, so I need to expand into the next item as well for the splitter group. See splitter group 1 of group 1. Just like we have here, split group of group. All right, and then the next level down is to look at a group. So I'll come to the groups underneath of that, expand that out. And it's going to be this group 1 because there's only one group. So now we're down to this level. So next up is going to be a scroll area. So if I come down here to scroll areas, and I can expand this if it's not showing enough information here. And there underneath of scroll areas, you can see we've got 3 scroll areas. And so in this case, we don't know which scroll area this is referring to. However, we know that the next element here is a text entry area. So if I look through each of these scroll areas by scrolling down here a little bit, the first one, open it up and you can see it shows the various elements and there are no text areas. So it's not that one. Scroll area 2, open this up. Once again, there's no text areas. So hopefully scroll area 3 will work. There you go. In scroll area 3, we've got our first text area. So this is obviously the scroll area that we needed, which corresponded to this. And then we have our text entry, which inside of here, text entry areas, expand that out. There's the text area. There's only one element, so that must be the one that we want. So now if I scroll this up a bit here so we have access to its properties, we can take a look inside. And then the most important part here is that we can now take this reference and drag it over here. And then I can do something like set set text box to text area 1, and you can scroll over to see everything here. Just that hierarchy of references. Command K will compile that, and then Command R should run that. Oops, I left in the minimizing. Let's put this back. Let's comment that out. All right, so now if I run this again, and then if I do something like set the value of text box to foo, run that. There you go. You can see I put foo inside the text box. So if you're interested in getting started with AppleScript and using the accessibility framework to be able to automate applications, I definitely recommend using good tools, learn the accessibility inspector, and then learn how to use that with something like Script Debugger that allows you to debug the live application and step through the element hierarchy. And then once you get used to using this, when you create a script, you can then put that into something like Keyboard Maestro or into your Stream Deck button or both. And then at the push of a button, you can run some code to automate doing something inside of an application.